here. I should send.
Excuse me. I'm just a little confused. Everyone who's on tonight was supposed to get an email. I missed the whole thing here. What do you mean?
Well, hang on just a second. Let me find my Zoom. Okay, great. Yes. Well, now different people had different ways of being communicated with. So some people got an email, others are registered part of our Facebook group, and they're also registered on the Natural Health Meetup site. So depending on what group you belong to, it would have been a different ways of getting the information. But we have Drew, so that's good. No problems getting in, Drew?
Hey, Serena. Where's Drew?
Okay. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and get rolling here.
No, I had no problems getting in. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, that's great. I'm glad that you were here.
Hey, no passport needed or nothing. Wonderful.
And Nan is back. So glad that you're here with us. And Barry, Serena will tell you when to move the slides, and we'll go from there.
Okay, so we're all set and ready to begin. Okay, well, good evening, everyone. I just want to take this opportunity to welcome each one of you to our Natural Health Learn and Share Meetup of Downers Grove. We do this meetup the second Tuesday of every month, so I'm very happy that you have joined us this evening. Today, we are having a celebration, but we are not celebrating my birthday. We are celebrating something bigger. We are celebrating Dale's 10 years of being diabetes-free. Now, that is a celebration indeed. Okay, in this celebration interview, Dale will share his journey, his experience, the good and the difficult moments, and everything in between. So let's sit back and enjoy this celebration. But before, let us have a word of prayer. Dear God, we just want to thank you for bringing us here together. We thank you, dear Lord, for the celebration, Lord, for the thing that you have done in our lives and the thing that you have done in Dale's life. Bless this presentation, bless this meetup, dear Lord, and help us to be healthier each and every day. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so just a few reminders. Please join our private Facebook group at Natural Health Enthusiasts to stay connected. Barry, you could put the link on the screen. So if you need to join, the link should be there. You will have access to all of the resources mentioned in this presentation, and you will be able to ask questions after the presentation. Our purpose is to learn together through sharing and educating. We do not give recommendations on what you should use or do. If any clarification is needed from today's presentation, you may ask, and it will be provided. If you wish to have a private consultation, please send your request to the link that appears on the screen. So Barry, if you're able to put the link, that would be great. Or you can also join our Facebook group. Okay, and I just want to remind you again that the information in this presentation is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment. So all content and information available in this presentation is for general information purposes only. We do not recommend, endorse, or make any representation about the effectiveness of any specific product or treatment through this presentation. The sponsors and presenters of this Natural Health Meetup are not responsible nor liable for any advice, course of treatment, diagnosis, or any other information, services, or products that you obtain as a result of this presentation. Okay, so we are ready to begin. As I mentioned earlier, this is a celebration interview, and I am honored to introduce the interviewer of the hour. Renee Maxfield, an emerging icon in rapid skill transfer and habit acquisition. She has an MA in environmental science and applied ecology from Miami University. She is the developer of Skillopedia and the Rapid Skill Transfer Protocol. She loves Jamaica and participating on mission trips with All Nations Fellowship. She is an avid and brave off-road and cross-country motorcyclist. And she is an emerging natural health enthusiast. I personally know Renee to be a mastermind thinker. She is effective at developing breakthrough strategies through her critical thinking skills. Last but not least, she is a fun, friendly, and kind person. We welcome you, Renee. What else would you want us to know about you?
Thank you, Serena. I think you about covered it there. Yeah, I have a big passion for all things learning, life, living it to the fullest. And I've been blessed to know, I'm going to have a hard time saying Dale, so Michael for 14 years and Serena for 4. And our mastermind call that we've had for that long has been such an enormous benefit to me. It's helped me to grow and to develop all those things that you just mentioned over these past years. And so, yeah, thank you for the beautiful introduction. I appreciate that. And so, yeah, but tonight's focus is on Michael/Dale Campbell and his diabetes story. It's a truly remarkable one. It's one that I convey often to other people who are looking to change their life, their health, and those kind of things, and do it naturally, and are so.
Well, I'm actually just really grateful that you have this opportunity to be here tonight. This is your first time within this group. This is a group that we've been working with a little over 4 years now. Every month we have different workshops. And we have some regulars and we have some new people tonight, and just really thankful that you were able to join us for this.
Thank you.
So, but that's great. I guess there's a little slide about myself, and I just want to be known as a diabeter. That's yeah. It's great. So Renee.
So Michael, tell us how this all started. When and how did you discover that you had diabetes?
Well, so I was really healthy, at least so I thought. And I was the healthiest guy in town, really, in my mind. And I was, had my chest really big and out, and was just really confident. And so I thought I would go to the doctor for him to prove how healthy I was. And that was, but I was not really all that healthy at all. And to be honest with you, I was quite shocked when he took all the tests and everything, and I had not been to see him. I think it was just about 5 years. And that's really not good to do. You want to stay on track. But we had an opportunity to have him do the tests. And when I got home a couple of days later, he called me and he said, "You have diabetes. Did you know that?"
Were you shocked by this? Did you have any indications?
I was shocked
that you were overlooking prior to this visit?
Well, yes. In fact, frequent urination. That was a symptom that I learned from Dr. Amin, that's a telltale sign. Then I had, in fact, I had tingling in my feet. And let's see, what's this commercial, Barry? There's a commercial coming up on here. I don't know where that's from.
Drink some soda.
Yeah.
Yeah, of all things, with talking about diabetes, right?
I hope that's not my computer. But that actually is the software. But yeah, and then also I lost a significant amount of weight. And when I was sometime after researching some of the different approaches to reversing diabetes, I came across some information in the Chinese literature that really indicated that the word diabetes in Chinese means wasting away.
Oh, we have a little
And
feedback,
wasting
Michael.
away is one of those things that happens to a lot of people with diabetes. They lose weight and they're happy because they've lost the weight, but really, it's really a telltale sign. So those are some of the things that I just overlooked. And one other, I got dizzy quite frequently. I remember once I was in the state doing a workshop, and
Excuse me, can I interrupt? People
Yeah.
need to mute because we're getting a lot of background noise and we only want to hear the speaker.
yeah,
So if everybody
Barry,
could mute who's
Barry,
not speaking.
yeah, can you mute everybody, Barry, except for me?
Thank you.
Me. And me.
And Renee, yeah, thanks, yeah. All right, great. Yeah, so Renee is in as, what are you in as, Renee? I'm looking for your name here.
Renee Maxfield.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Perfect. Good. Yeah. So yeah, I remember once I was in Kentucky conducting a workshop. I got up, I stood up, I was feeling really great, and all of a sudden I began getting dizzy. And I told the audience, there were only like about 8 students in that workshop, and I told them that I needed to go to the hospital. I didn't feel right. And they didn't find anything when I went to the hospital. They said, you're normal, you're fine. And so, but that was also one of those things that was an indicator for me. And so all of those things, I never even thought to go to the doctor and check it out,
What did you attribute them to? Individual one-off items
Well,
or?
the tingling in my feet. I said, "Oh, it's winter." In fact, at that point in time, I had a chauffeur kind of to take me from one account to the next. I hired one, and we enjoyed talking with each other. And it was winter, and I just felt, oh, it must be getting a little thing in my feet from the cold weather, and the frequent urination. I had no idea. I said, "Oh, wow, this is not good." But I never thought anything. Never did anything either. Just maybe went maybe over a year with that.
And didn't piece any of them together?
I had no idea. Remember, I was Mr. Healthy, so I wasn't studying diseases.
So some sort of, you had an idea about yourself that actually stopped you out from examining these various symptoms that you had at the time.
That's right. That is exactly right. I was so healthy, I had no need to go to the doctor.
So were you surprised when he said this to you?
Man, I was in shock.
What kind of experience was that?
Well, shock meaning to say I could feel my heart beating right then. I was scared. But I think the next thing that I did was also interesting, and I went to my favorite ice cream parlor right after that.
A little stress eating.
And ordered a banana split back. Yeah, and it was really kind of interesting that we ended up coming to terms with it soon after that. And he told me in that second visit I had that I needed to take metformin, which was the drug he was prescribing, and that I would never control my diabetes without that. He also told me that, and this is really the interesting piece to what he told me. He said, when you go to the emergency room, if you ever have to go to the emergency room, he said, let them know you're on metformin, because we don't want to have any emergency room complications, is what he said.
And did he explain what those complications were?
Did not explain what they were, and I didn't ask. But in that instant, I felt something. I said, well, if that drug is so dangerous that I have to warn people I'm on this drug, I don't know if I really want to take it. And somewhere between that instruction and the banana split and the drive home, I think I made a decision that I was going to do something different.
And what did that set? What was that
Yes.
path? How did that set that off?
I went to Google and I typed in cure diabetes naturally.
Gotta love Google. And what did you find when you
Yeah,
did
and,
this? Was
it
it
took me-
hopeful? Was it overwhelming? What was your experience
there
with
was
that
a
then?
bit. There was a bit, and there was quite a bit that didn't seem authentic. And so I kept searching for a while. It took me a few days. It was a time where I had some discretionary time with the job that I had, and so I was able to sit at home and get work done, and then I could, alternately search in Google, and this thing came up, the diabetes reversal report.
Okay. Oh, wait, Michael, we've lost you.
Wow.
Oh,
Okay.
now you're back. Okay,
Yeah.
now you're back. Continue.
Yes, $67. The diabetes reversal report was $67, one-time download. And that was the first thing that I found that was really detailed enough to really give someone ideas to what specifically to do. And that had a really thorough explanation of what diabetes was, type 2 diabetes specifically, and what, all of the different things we should do, how to have your diet, how to, what supplements were good to take, and all of that. And so that started my path.
I'm curious. No, I think your path started earlier. I'm just a little curious as to what prompted you to even think in this direction.
Good question.
I mean, a lot of people will just the doctor knows best kind of thing. And what in your past or history caused you to seek out this alternative sort of information?
Yeah. So when I think I would say about 8 years old, my mother had a conversation with a lady. I don't recall who she was, but we were in Kingston, Jamaica, where we were living at the time. And I overheard the lady say to my mother, give him juniper oil because that will take care of his asthma. And a few days later, I had juniper oil and it smelled really bad. But, but I drank it, my orange juice, did it consistently. I don't know how long, I can't remember now, but maybe a week or two. I haven't wheezed since.
Yeah. So you had a positive experience with
going
a different route than just accepting out of the gate.
That's right.
The doctor's recommendation.
Yes, and when we were kids walking on the street in Jamaica, there's a little piece of succulent set of leaves we call it the leaf of life. And if you had a cold, you were getting a cold on your way home walking, you just grab some of those leaves off the street, you pretend to wipe it off from the dust from the highway, and you pop down on that succulent leaf and the cold disappears within a few hours.
So you had quite a few experiences then with something other than the current medical kind of paradigm. Okay.
Yes, but also Dr. Amin scared me when he said, when you go to the emergency room, let them know to avoid emergency room complications. That scared me. Yeah. And I said, sure. Yeah. It makes sense to me to even start that path.
Okay. Yeah. And so then what happened next?
Yeah, especially if you get to the emergency room and you're unconscious. How are you going to tell anybody?
Right. Now you understand why people wear medical bracelets, right?
Yeah,
because
you know what? Excuse me. I'm struggling with this conversation and this session. Now, please respectfully, I don't understand all the giggling and the laughing. And doctor, when you share your experience, then Renee reacts giggling and laughter. I don't know if that's a nervous reaction, but I thought we were going to have a more serious educational session here, and I'm waiting for this to get to the next level. If it's not going to, maybe I should just exit.
Is it Nan? Hang in there. Yeah, we're getting there.
Okay, I'm waiting,
Just
but
give you some
let's
background.
just cut out all the giggle and the joking, and let's just, we've set aside this time, and we're waiting for valuable information.
Very good.
Thank you.
So Renee, are you there?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, good. Yep. So the whole idea of getting to this point with diabetes was to start that path, and I imagine that one of the questions that might come up, well, why do you want to do this? Why do you really want to go this path? And I want to give some more background, Nan, if you don't mind, because this is really important to understanding the mindset.
Absolutely, yes. That's
Yeah.
I'm looking for informational.
Well, yeah.
Your experience. That's why we're in tune here with you. Thank you.
Yeah. The mindset is to understand that each one of these decisions can become quite challenging. And to be able to understand yourself in the context of why is it that one would even choose that different path, not being sure about the results. And when I looked at the side effects of metformin, that also scared me. And so we found that in this booklet, the Diabetes Reversal Report, there were some really great tips and great understanding, and I was able to follow that. I want to share my screen if I can. And let's see here. So this is what Dr. Amin, can you see that?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, great. So this was my A1C, 12.1. And something else the doctor said to me when he saw that A1C, he said, "You're about ready for a heart attack." And so these are the results that I had after 18 months, down to 5.7. Cholesterol was down, triglycerides were down. The ratio with high cholesterol ratios was really good. And the glucose
We can't see the right part of the screen where you're reading.
You can't see the right part?
Yeah, just only the July 23rd. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I want to get better figures for my.
Yeah, I could see it. All I had to do was just glide it sideways, and the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Better than I am.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, so these were my results, and it really turns out that we, it was a difficult fight along the way. And so the reason for me to be celebrating as a diabeter is because I really want to inspire people to understand the power of natural health. One of the people that really was really helpful to me was Tony Robbins, the I'm Not Your Guru guy, and Morty Lefko, Stephen Covey, and they all had ways of looking at crafting your own future. And that mindset, I think, is really important for us because it's very difficult when you have friends and you have relatives and you have people who just say, "Hey, you're never going to get better." Or they say, you got to take your medicine, you got to go see the doctor, not realizing that there are so many pitfalls potentially in using medication. And so it is my real pleasure to do this celebration interview tonight with Renee, and to also then say, look, if you want to be a diabeter or someone who is really taking care of your body, you want to advocate for yourself. you want to do some research, which I will share with you some of those good places to find solid research tonight. You also want to look at quality in, quality out. You understand that. One of the techniques that I developed as a result of this research and experience was test and titrate, and do that often. You want to also be in a really positive mindset to celebrate and look at the direction over the speed. A lot of times it's slow progress. And if you have history, to trust the process. So I don't know how many of you remember Roger Bannister. Anybody know who Roger Bannister is?
4-minute mile guy.
Yeah, the 4-minute mile guy. That's right. And if you noticed in his story, he was an outlier. He was a guy who just didn't take any of the coaching that was available to him at the time in 1956, and everybody was looking at him really, really strange and says, you're never going to break the record. And it was himself training himself and being committed to the process that he developed that allowed him to get there. And so the inspiration followed very quickly after that. Within that same year and several years, within a short time, there are many people who were able to break that 4-minute mile as well. And so to trust the process, there's so many people. I'm not the first one to do this, reverse diabetes, but there's so many stories that everyone who has diabetes should look closely into those and see what process they would like. So trusting the process is a huge piece. And then celebrating, I mentioned that, and diabetes, of course, they just beat it, right? They just absolutely beat it.
What does that mean to you, Michael?
When I say just beat it?
No, diabetes.
Oh, yeah. So with a diabetes, it means you don't want to take a path that's not natural. And you are willing to make the sacrifice. You're willing to do the research. And you're willing to even go out of your way to learn exactly how your body works. And that comes at the test and titrate often. That's one of the nuggets tonight. And I might as well tell that here because that's relevant. So one of the techniques that is really important is to understand your body. And with my experience, I decided one morning, I think it was a Sunday morning, it was maybe around 10 or 11 o'clock. I sat down in my bed and I was checking my blood sugar, and it was great. It was just below 100, where it's supposed to be for fasting. And I said, I wonder what would happen if I just have one grape. Now I'm testing, right? And so at 20 minutes after I had that, so I went downstairs got the grape from the refrigerator, had one. Actually, I took a bowl, but I just had one, and I waited 20 minutes. Within the 20 minutes, folks, my blood sugar was over 300. And that's way above what it would normally go for a non-diabetic with one grape, even with a bowl of grapes. And so I found out that grapes were definitely a trigger for me. And so what I did, I tested everything. I tested rice. I tested every fruit, from an orange to cherries to everything. I tested vegetables. I tested chicken. I tested all the proteins. And I found out exactly what my body was sensitive to and how it responded to the sugar loads that were present. And so that was a lot of sticks, right? Because we used the traditional stick and get the little droplet of blood and tested it. And I found some companies that sold all those supplies in bulk. So it was a whole lot less expensive. And so here it was that test and titrate proved so valuable to me. When I spoke with a friend of ours, Dr. Urasek, he said, what you ought to do is to do a graph and take the data, collect the data that you're gathering so you can see patterns. And that was so helpful in that I was able to then track my diabetes, track what was triggering it, monitor it sufficiently closely that I was able then to understand what to do specifically to get it under control initially. So test and titrate is part of what that means to me, to answer your question, Renee.
And what are the other discoveries that your key principles that you used to reverse your diabetes?
Yeah, let me see if I can get this page up here. All right, so let's close this, and I want to go a little bit further down here. Okay, so those are the three guys. Let's see. Okay. Inspiration. Okay, we did that. Okay, so here's what I want to share with you that I think will be very helpful. This river, does it look like there's clean water or dirty water?
Dirty.
Dirty water. So even though we're here for diabetes, and we'll definitely be addressing that along the way, I want to go back just a step, because when we are thinking about health and disease, I want you to think about it this way. Let's say that this river were flowing down into a reservoir that's being collected for drinking water. They would need then to treat that water sufficiently so that it would be potable. And let's say the water is coming in too fast and they can't keep up with the cleanup. They can't keep up with the treatment to make it so that it is potable and safe for drinking. What do you think is going to happen to the quality of water that reaches the homes of people?
Continuously gets worse.
That's right. So I want you to think about that. I want you to think about the fact that when we purchase vegetables in our supermarket, we expect them to be clean and pure. Well, we know better, right? From this call, you know, we know better. But when we buy a delicious beverage from the store, and it is just tastes so great, and we see the label and we see some words on the label that we have no idea how to pronounce, and we realize that those things are not food. Many of them are preservatives. Let's say that we are breathing some air in and we're getting some of the pollution from the factories and we're downwind from that. Let's say that we purchase bottled water in a plastic and some of the plastic material comes off and we're getting that kind of river flowing rapidly with all these toxins constantly. And so I love the quote from Professor Arnold Ehret, German guy, early 1900s. And he says, the purpose of food is to detoxify the body. Realizing that there's so many toxins, so many sources of toxins coming into our bodies. And our bodies, as we get older especially, but even the young ones now are, being impacted. And yes, it gets just too much for the body to handle, and so it starts breaking down. So acidosis, a lot of unhealthy foods create an acid environment in the body. That's one of the major causes of disease. I'm going to share with you, and for those of you who are on this call, I'm going to share this 8 Laws of Health link with you. I'll put it on the Meetup site as well for those of you who are not in the Facebook group. But the 8 Laws of Health, if you violate those laws, so we're talking about sleep, we're talking about drinking enough water, we're talking about proper sunshine and exercise and all these things that we know are healthy. That is one of the other causes of disease. We talked a little bit about environmental pollution already, but mold is a big one. Even the exhaust from the dryer in your laundry, dirty electricity. And I know Sally's going to say you don't have EMFs there, but I just forgot to put it in. But these things are causes of disease. Then, of course, stress is another one. How many of us have experienced unhealthy stress in our lives on a daily basis from work and from family issues and so on? The body cannot handle that large amount of toxins coming in when it's under stress. The body's looking to do something else with the energy that it has. And then the endocrine system. Just so much under assault here. And the last one is just that we don't know how to recognize or reduce. And so the 8 laws of health, I'm going to share what this link looks like for you so you know what's here. But this is an entire curriculum that I put together a few years ago. This is where Barbara O'Neill, who is a naturopath out of New Zealand, she will go through the 8 laws of health, sunshine and rest. Those are 2. We have the importance of salt and water. Really great video for you to watch, even how it impacts DNA. You will also find exercise. There's quite a lot of great information. I'll give you one example in this presentation tonight as well. And then, of course, pure air and temperance. And then down here, many of you are already familiar with the China study. And this is of course a copy of the video here. And these 2 books, this is the one by Professor Arrett, and it's been edited by Professor Spira to be more modern in language, and so we can understand it more easily. I recommend this book very highly. It's going to tell you exactly which foods cause inflammation. It's going to tell you exactly which foods cause moderate inflammation and then, of course, minimal inflammation. This is definitely a real great resource. So you understand the dynamic of how the body is set up to detoxify itself. But we have to give it the raw materials to be able to do that. And then the alkaline herbal medicine. Akil Anis is another great resource for you to understand the electrical nature of the body. And these resources really helped me a lot to frame my understanding of natural health practices and lifestyle medicine, as it is being called today. So those are some of the items that we have. I want to go back here. And let's see, I need to get back to this one. Oh, here we go. Let's take a look at a couple items specifically now for diabetes. Epigenetics basically says this, and this is really one of the things I want everyone to know. Epigenetics says just because you have the genes for a particular disease means you don't have to have it. And the other thing is true. If your lifestyle is of such, even though you don't have the genes for something, it doesn't prevent you from getting it. And so living above the genetic or below the genetic profile is a consideration here. And I would encourage you to go to pubmed.gov and just type in diabetes cure or diabetes and see the articles that are there. There's so many of these. This is PubMed. I want also to share with you the Linus Pauling website. This is just one that's replete with so much valuable information here. And then, of course, Google Scholar is another resource for you to use. And this, when you look at this, I'm going to click on one of these just so that you will see what I mean when I say epigenetics, and you can go there. If you take a look at this site here, let's see. Okay, epigenetics. Okay, 99,000 articles published on this one site. All right, and so I want you to become real comfortable with that idea and study it so that you will know. Now, Garth Edwards is a chiropractor. He's actually a classmate of mine. And when I told him I had diabetes, here's what happened. He said, hey, Michael, he knows me as Michael. He said, 75% veggies and fruits, 25% protein, And at that time, I was a carnivore, so I was eating lots of animal protein. And then he said, expect marvelous health results, he said. 75% veggies and fruits and 25% protein. When you look at your plate, this needs to be really distributed like that. And it's amazing how things just started to change in my body. Now, a couple of things that we already alluded to before, but it's worth reiterating here, must be organic foods and foods grown in rich natural soil and hopefully not sprayed with chemicals of any kind. Even though they're organic, doesn't mean they're not being sprayed with harmful chemicals. So please check those out, check out the resources, and do the best you can. I will give you one tip right now that I learned not too long ago, just a few months ago, and we're doing that especially now with the COVID environment. We are soaking all of our produce in a solution of water with baking soda. And the baking soda, just put it in the sink and fill up the water so it covers everything. It's about 2 or 3 tablespoons of baking soda per gallon. And just let it sit for 15 to 20 minutes. And a wonderful chemical reaction occurs with so many toxins, including glyphosate, which is one of those very harmful chemicals that looks very much like an amino acid chemically. And so if you look at amino acid glycine and you look at glyphosate, you will see just such a strong similarity between the two. And that glyphosate, the body thinks it's glycine and starts using it. And that's one of the causes of health, of rather causes of disease, of poor health. And so keep in mind that the soil and the way that food is handled is all included in this. Now, there's something here that you should take a close look at, and I'm going to go deeper with this because, and I hope I don't offend anyone with this, but the way that I understand the world is that it was created by a God, and God put all the different pieces in place. And plants actually have a very important function other than just producing food. They also produce or have a symbiotic relationship with very helpful bacteria. And also, they have the opportunity of taking the minerals from the soil and making them bioavailable to us. Problem is, a lot of the agriculture today is just destroying the soil. And so those healthy bacteria for the plants are no longer there. And many of the minerals, therefore, are not getting broken down and becoming sufficiently bioavailable for us. So, point being this, that even though the food's organic, we want them to be grown in natural soil that has fulvic and humic acid for optimum results. Now, since the food is not having sufficient of these as the plants grow, it is going to be important for us to look a little bit more deeply with that. But let's take a look at plants and the micronutrients that they provide. This is Dr. Bruce Ames, and he will tell you through his research that if you make sure that you have wide, huge variety of fruits and vegetables of all the possible colors that you can find, the purples and the greens and the oranges and the yellows, and put them into your 75% of your plate, you're going to impact your diabetes. You're going to impact so many different health pathways within your body. And this list is pretty extensive. He's done enough research with this to document the 40 essential micronutrients. I want you also to look at this one down here. This is Dr. Newsom. Dr. Newsom also has done some significant research that's very helpful for pretty much any health concern. Fulvic acid is so powerful The first time that I purchased fulvic acid, I got the powder form of it. It's $300 a pound, but the pound that I got is lasting 4 years because you only need a tiny little bit of it. And it really does help the body to detoxify. Why is that important? Because we have all of these sources of toxins coming in. And so with fulvic acid, detox, and it does something else. And remember, fulvic acid is both on the plants as well as animals. Both forms need that. But here's what it does. Fulvic acid bonds to the micronutrients and acts as a delivery system at the cellular level. So you could still be eating good solid foods, lots of fruits and vegetables, all the colors. And if you don't have the plants that are grown in the ideal environment, the fulvic acid is going to be missing. And therefore, the delivery system of those nutrients will not be making it to the cells. Then by the same token, if you go down just a little bit further here, you're going to notice that not only is a delivery system, but it also removes harmful toxins. Dr. Newsom describes fulvic acid as the body's mailman and the garbage man rolled into one. And so this gives you some idea about the causes of disease, including the disease that I had. Figure this, even though I had diabetes, and I was a sugar junkie, I will admit that. I was a sugar junkie, but I was an organic sugar junkie, if you know what I mean, right? So being an organic sugar junkie was supposed to be good, but it was still too much sugar for my body. But with all the other toxins, the body couldn't clean itself up fast enough. So I want to tell you just a little bit about this experience, because the day I cried, I burst into tears right in Trader Joe's. This is the inside of a Trader Joe's. And I actually just really broke out. I was looking at the juices. I was looking at the apple juice. I was looking at the cranberry juice. I was looking at the grape juice. And I used to buy those in copious quantities. And on a Sunday afternoon, I could easily finish a gallon of those juices. That was way too much sugar, right? And I burst into tears because the craving was so high, so strong. And what I tell you here is that many times along this path, when you're fighting to do the right thing, you know what the right thing is, and you just don't want to. You want to go back. It's a tough experience. I'm going to encourage you to have someone that you can call on to give you a little boost, encourage you. Because I called my wife, I called Fuchsia, and I told her, I said, I don't think I'm going to make it. And she said, yes, you're going to make it. She was very, very encouraging. And I pretty much fell out in that store. My chin was quivering and the water was coming down my cheeks. And I just got to tell you, it was so hard. So, the thing though that
open it up right there.
Next that I want to share with you, this is a really great experience that I had along the way.
Oh, it's already open, Mike.
What's that? Okay, sorry. I thought somebody was asking me a question. So there are lots of different kinds of exercises, but if you have diabetes, folks, this is the one. I remember I was at a workshop and I was teaching this exercise. Tabata was here in Chicago. And there was a gentleman there that had one of these devices that monitors his blood sugar on a real-time basis. And I never had one of those, right? Because I didn't even bother to fill the prescription that the doctor gave me. So I didn't have anything really other than sticking myself every few hours. But here's what happened. he actually told me as I was teaching him the exercise and he was going through the routine, he actually said, this thing really works. I said, how do you know? He said, he looked at his meter and he says, the sugar has gone down 10 points in 5 minutes of this exercise. So when people tell you to go walking, I don't know if walking is really the right exercise to really impact diabetes. You need something a little bit more intense than that. Brisk walk is always good for cardiovascular, but we're talking about diabetes here. We're talking about something that you want to burn up the sugar quickly, and you want to burn fat so that the cells get cleaned up. Well, listen carefully. Tabata is, and there are Tabata timers, and I have a link in here, so you'll be able to get one easily, but you can search for them on your Android or even on Google. But it's 20 seconds of intense exercise, 20 seconds of intense. So you could do your jumping jacks, or you could flail your arms, or you could do your knee high. And so this person, I saw this earlier, and I thought this was pretty cool because you got a chance to see exactly the different kinds of exercise that you can do in Tabata. You do whatever it is you want, but it's 20 seconds of intense exercise. You rest for 10 seconds. And then you can go in and do 20 seconds of a different kind of exercise if you want, or you can go back and repeat the same thing and then rest for 10. So it's 20 intense, 10 seconds of rest, 20 seconds of intense, and you cycle through that. You do that 8 times. And that gives you a total of 4 minutes. Now listen to this, folks. This is really key because I did this in my hotel rooms as I was traveling the country. I did this. If I went to visit some folks, I'd go out in the backyard or in the bedroom, depending on what the situation was, and I would do my Tabata exercises because I knew that I was building muscle with these exercises. Even though it is intended for cardiovascular, I was still building muscle with what I was doing. And the importance of building muscle is so important because when you have more muscle, it causes more blood vessels to be present in the muscle, and therefore helping to remove toxins and bring nutrients at a faster rate. So muscle is really important. So walking gently is nice, but it's not really going to make that impact for you. And so Tabata is a really wonderful opportunity for you to burn up that sugar quickly and get the body accustomed to the increased circulation to clean away those toxins that are residing and causing inflammation in the body. And so here it is. You've got the Tabata timer. I have a link for you here, and that was a really great find. The reason for the name Tabata, it's named after its founder or discoverer. He's a scientist, Japanese gentleman, Izumi Tabata, and he was the one that did a lot of the assessments with athletes to identify that the Tabata improves your performance more quickly than traditional forms of training. And so it doubles now, of course, as a great exercise for diabeters. I want to share with you also a couple items here. You may think they're just 2 or 3 more items. Dr. Sherry Rogers, one of the people that I read during that time, she's out of New York. She is a medical doctor, Harvard graduate, and she says this. She says that it should be that any doctor who does not recommend alpha lipoic acid for his or her diabetic patients should be put in jail. That's in her book. And I just want you to know that alpha lipoic acid is such a wonderful supplement. It is so inexpensive, and it will provide a large amount of inflammation removal from your body, from the cells in your body, from the circulatory system, from the arteries, and from the veins all the way through. There's a lot of inflammation when we have those toxins that the body can't handle. And the first signs of that simply means that what the nutrients are in the bloodstream can't get into the cells, and in addition to that, the toxins that are in the cells or the products of metabolism just can't get from the cell into the bloodstream to be carried away. And alpha lipoic acid helps with that to speed up that process. I also want to tell you about the research done by the United States Department of Agriculture. This study was done in Pakistan. And this is all stuff I'm learning, right? This is all stuff I'm learning on my path. It took me 1.5 years to gather all of this stuff. And here it is, the USDA found that cinnamon is one of those spices that truly helps diabetics. It's not the cure, though. It pretty much works just like a drug would. It removes the sugar quickly from your body so that the sugar is not so high. That's still good, right? But the alpha lipoic acid is the one that's removing inflammation, which is one of the causes of disease, one of the main causes. And then the cinnamon, of course, is helping to move the sugar out of the bloodstream into the cell. And what many diabetics find is that their energy comes back once they start getting the sugar into the cell, out of the bloodstream and into the cell. And so cinnamon and alpha lipoic acid were two of those items that I used that really made a significant impact. And let's see, what else do we have here? I think that's it. So these are the things that I would like my aspiring diabeters to know. Any questions?
Michael, I want to thank you for sharing. You always share everything that you've learned and worked so hard to gain with everybody around you. You're a gift.
Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Let me stop sharing my screen here. And are there any other?
Yes, Dale, would you be able to spell that alpha-lipoic? What was that you were
Yes,
saying?
alpha lipoic. Yes. Let me put it in the chat so that way you can grab it. Let's see here. Here we go. ALPHA-YCACID. Yeah, alpha lipoic acid. And they have a new version out now that is the R lipoic acid. It's the letter R as in river. And that is supposedly, don't have any documentation, but they're telling me that it does provide much more effective removal of inflammation and helps the body to produce more antioxidants on its own. Alpha lipoic acid.
And what do you prescribe with like a milligram of that?
You know, whatever the bottle says. I used to use a 600 milligram capsule, and now I use occasionally a 300, just for the heck of it. But yeah, if it's an aggressive situation, and everybody's body is different, so I usually recommend starting low, getting the body to understand something different's about to happen, and then increasing to see what tolerance you might have. But these are supplements that are available, in pretty much any health food store that you want.
Are you still taking them?
Every once in a while, sometimes when I travel a bit, or in cases where I know I've had way too much rice. And by the way, wild rice is the rice that is the least inflammation resulting from it. So I know, white rice, brown rice, but it's the wild rice that really provides the best protection for the body. But every once in a while, my wife likes to have carbs with her meals, with our salad, and I put them in there. And so just being careful about it, I take a little bit of alpha lipoic from time to time.
You take wheat and milk? Can you take wheat and milk?
Um, I used to. I don't do those anymore because, well, good question. I don't use any wheat products anymore, primarily because the gluten that exists now is, for the most part, genetically modified. And the gluten sensitivities that we're seeing on the rise are not because gluten is bad, it's because this kind of gluten is the bad one. And so if you were to get ancient grains or ancient grain bread, and they have some Canadian sources and other parts of the world, you can find gluten that is, for most people, safe to have. And so that just puts more toxic load on the body. And so I stay away from.
Gluten is bad for the intestines, right?
Yeah, that's right. The body doesn't know what to do with it. And so it causes what we call oxidative stress on the body. If you don't
Michael,
feel anything, it can certainly be a problem.
Does that make it autoimmune disease like type 1 diabetes? Did you have type 1 or type 2?
Type
And
2.
how did you regenerate your pancreas if they have if they in type 2 actually insulin is produced but the cells are not able to use it, right?
That's correct. It's insulin resistance at the cellular level. And so that was my experience. I had type 2 diabetes. But
So
let me
you
tell
just corrected your diet and you took organic stuff and it was healed, you mean to say?
yeah.
And what about type 1? That never that doesn't have much scope, no, to regenerate the pancreas. That there is no much scope for that one, right?
Yes. So pancreas is still producing sufficient insulin for most type 2 diabetics. But let me tell you this one experience that I had. Dr. Gabriel Cousins and Dr. Neil Barnard. One is from Harvard, the other one is from Yale. Both of them did an experiment together on type 2 diabetics. And just amazing results with the dietary shift, right? And so just looking at what causes inflammation in the body and what doesn't, and you stay with a high proportion of what doesn't cause inflammation. Watch this carefully. There was an Asian gentleman in the group of patients in the study who didn't quite understand the rules and the expectations of the study. And he himself was a type 1 diabetic. Understand that when the results came out, even this gentleman who was type 1 diabetic was cured of the problem. The body started producing insulin again. So you can look
What
at
did they do?
Dr. Gabriel Cousins, Cousens, Gabriel Cousins. Look him up. And
I can find out what he has done.
Yes. It's just amazing that, this is why I do this once every few years, because there are people that nobody's teaching this. It's out there, but nobody's putting all of this together in this fashion. And so when Dr. Amin, when I went back to him 18 months after the initial visit, he said, "What did you do?" He said, "I've never seen this before." He said, "You need to write a book." And that's the reason I wrote my book. Then it sells on Amazon now.
Mike?
Yes?
Okay. I need to ask you the alpha lipoic acid, if you're on medication and taking insulin, is it safe to use it still?
Well, I can't, all I can tell you is that what Dr. Sherry Rogers says. Dr. Sherry Rogers says if the doctor is not recommending and prescribing alpha lipoic acid for you, he should be put in jail. That's what she says.
So is this recommended on an occasional use, or can you submit it, like a supplement where, so that you're, as we get younger, can we use this alpha to avoid even type 2? I mean, yes. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. See, this is the unfortunate thing. This is really unfortunate, but it's really great at the same time. When we remove inflammation, when we provide the body with antioxidants, when we minimize the toxins coming in, and we do all of that, our bodies know how to heal themselves. And so what you're saying here, what you're seeing here is the only reason we need these supplements is because of the toxins that are coming in so quickly from so many sources. And so, but alpha lipoic acid is not just for diabetics. It works just fine for any disease where inflammation is the cause. And 95% of diseases are inflammation caused. They're caused by inflammation, 95%. So the same protocol that we're using, and I haven't touched the green juices and I haven't touched any of that stuff yet because at the time I did not know all of that. But I still was able to reverse my diabetes, still eating meat, still not really being too careful about the quality of the vegetables and fruits. And I still was able to reverse it with a result of 5.7 A1C starting at a 12.1.
5.7 considered pre-diabetic?
No, it's considered you're in the safe zone at 5.7.
Okay, I just recently kind of reversed my own diabetes. I'm a little bit below a 6, and I've done it by fasting 1 day a week.
Yes, fantastic.
And I have and what I found with fasting is I could have under 100 sugar, then go exercise and recheck my sugar, and my sugar could spike without eating, which I thought that's my body releasing its own sugar to give me energy is kind of what I thought, which
That's
is
correct.
how you lower your A1C. And I got a question about it's real interesting. You say you eat one grape and your sugar just goes outrageous. Now, is that a cause from the sugar in the one grape, which I really find hard to believe, or is it a reaction that now your liver is just expelling more sugar into your blood, which made it spike? It's just hard to believe one grape can do that. And did you try different things like, I could eat an orange and it doesn't spike? But what was it with the one grape other than other foods that would make your blood?
What I did, Drew, and that's a great question. What I did, I really wanted to understand from my body. The grape for me was the one thing that made a huge difference. Everything else made a difference, but nothing that huge except the grape. And it was a green grape. not to say that a purple grape wouldn't do the same, right? I'm just being a little facetious with that. But the point is that for me, that was a trigger. And fruit juices in particular, the apple juice and the orange juices, obviously there's sugar there. But those things really caused high spikes. Nothing like the grape, but very, very high. And so it's really important for you to know, I think, so that you can identify how your body is responding to the different foods. So I did it with rice. I did it with beans. I did it with the meats. I did it with potatoes. Potatoes was another one. That was a huge spike for me. And then I found a recipe also done by the Chinese that mixed eggs with bran, with wheat bran, and with flour. And the benefit of that recipe with the bran, it really, even though it did have carbs in there, it was released very slowly because of the bran, and it never spiked your blood sugar at all. And so you could safely use that particular mixture of eggs and some nice seasoning in there and so on, and just mix that stuff up into a mush, and it would.
It's like eating flowers. Which flowers?
Yeah. And watch this, guys. I used to travel with that stuff because at that time I was traveling all over the country, almost every state, every single week. I took my stuff, prepared it on Saturday night and Sunday, and left Sunday afternoon and took that stuff with me on a plane. And the TSA, they got to know me.
Is it like raw flour or the powder of the dried flour or cooked flours?
It was cooked. It was all cooked. Yeah.
Like
It was
any
all.
flour, rose, or we can take any flour.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And so this has been my experience. I hope that this gives you hope. I hope that gives you somewhat better understanding of what it is that natural healing is all about. It's not about the specific disease, even though we've been trained that way in the Western cultures. All right. Pharmaceuticals are being used because that's the approach. It's about prescribing something for that thing. Yes, there's some of that in the natural world, but more importantly is that micronutrient combination. Those 40 micronutrients is more important, the quality of the food, and to use food to detoxify as opposed to having a fun, happy palate.
Can you please tell how many eggs and how many spoons of bran and how many grams of flour?
You know what? Are you part of our Facebook group?
No, I
No.
don't know. I don't
Okay,
know.
so yeah, we're going to show that on the slide coming up here in just a few minutes. If you could go to the Facebook group, it would be easy for me to post that there. The recipe is in my book, but I'd be happy to post it in the Facebook group for you.
And does having fat like clarified butter, ghee, or egg yellow of does that eating it with the carbohydrates, does it cause more less sugar spikes? Like I heard if you eat the egg with the yellow, it's better than only eating the whites.
Yeah, I used the whole egg, so I really didn't test anything different. I used the whole egg, yolk and white together.
And does the fatty liver or cause diabetes, and how can we treat that fatty liver if it does?
I didn't catch your question. Please repeat it.
Does fatty liver also lead to diabetes? Fatty liver.
Fatty liver. Fatty liver is a huge problem because then what's happening? You're not getting rid of the toxins. They're flowing around in your body and not getting out. So yeah, absolutely. It exacerbates the inflammation, especially the inflammation within the blood vessels. And so the communication between cell and blood is compromised.
How can we treat that?
So if you, Dr. Newsom, I shared that with you here a few minutes ago. Dr. Newsom, the cell membrane itself is, see, where do I have it? I want to share that again so you can see it. Let me go find it here. Yeah, this guy. Dr. Newsom, look him up. This is one of the fulvic and humic acids. Read up on that. That specifically goes to the cell membrane and to the blood vessels throughout the body. And I would recommend that you look at his information to guide you on that.
And does leaky gut also lead to diabetes? How can we cure that?
Yeah, same deal here. You may want then to look at the balance of your microbiome, the healthy bacteria, and be sure that you have a wide spectrum resource for that. The impact of leaky gut is simply, in fact, it is the toxins. Glyphosate has been touted as being very much responsible for leaky gut, in addition to excessive alcohol and so on. But sure, yeah, you can certainly help the gut by providing the minerals and providing an environment where the helpful bacteria are able to survive. If you have a lot of sugar, for example, in your diet or high carbohydrate levels, then the healthy bacteria are going to be overcome by the unhealthy bacteria in your gut. And that is certainly a very strong possibility with leaky gut syndrome.
Michael,
Okay,
if
can
anybody wants to get in touch
share
with
your
you to ask
diet?
further questions, how can they do that?
Yes, let me stop sharing my screen here. A couple things I would say. Our Facebook group is definitely one of those places I'd recommend you go because it's a place where we can talk. You know, you can ask me questions and you can dig in, and there's already a bit of information there for you to benefit from. And if you wanted to, and I'll put this in our Facebook group too, but this is Contact Your Lifestyle Health Coach. A link here that would also be helpful if you wanted, one-on-one consultation with one of our coaches. But really, when you take a look at what I've shared tonight and you put that together with anything else that you know and find, you're going to really identify that health using natural means is possible, just in the same way that someone broke the 4-minute mile and people are in fact curing their diseases, getting healthy again by simply making these lifestyle changes. We're not here to cure any disease in particular or treat or diagnose in any way, but just to share the information from an educational perspective so we know that the research is there. I want to show you one more thing, if you don't mind. We have a couple more minutes. This is really important for you since the
How much is your book and can you get it online?
That's a question. The book is online. It's on Amazon. And let me do this. I want to share a resource here as well. Let me bring that.
I had a question. I was wondering if there was one particular thing to start with or to do first that would reduce the level of the blood sugar. I have many things: reduce stress, diet, exercise, alpha lipoic acid, fulvic acid, reduce carbs. But I was wondering if there's one particular thing that you recommend to start with.
When we start working on a protocol for our clients, it's really starting with detoxifying the body. And I would look at the fulvic and humic acids here. I would also recommend the water intake to be sure you're drinking enough water, pure water, and the exercise. I don't know what level of A1C you have or you're talking about, but everything depends on that. But the simple things first, where I started, 75% veggies on the plate and 25% protein. It's a good place to start. It's simple and easy. And then you can add in these other items that we talked about.
You recommend fasting? That seemed to.
Yeah, in fact, I'm glad you brought that up, Drew, because next month, that's the topic.
Yeah, it's I kind of look at my diet. I look at my diabetes as, and I tried to get onto your thing a few months ago. Then I recently went to the doctor, and he's like, he couldn't believe how my A1C dropped, and and I want to be off my medicine, my metformin, and
yes,
I kind of just took on an attitude of, hey, look, to myself, this is a dietary disease, and I can cure it with a diet, with diet and extreme exercise. And it's like, like you said, hereditary. I inherited bad eating habits, strictly. When the doctor told me I had diabetes years ago, it's like, you're kidding me. I feel like $1 million. I don't eat sugar, but boy, I love pasta and bread.
Yeah.
And and I just came to a point where I got a dietary disease. I'm going to cure it with diet and exercise, rigorous exercise too, the type you're talking about. I dropped a lot of weight fast. I fast 1 day a week. I lose a half a pound a week for the last probably 2.5 months. And
Do you
I'm
like
doing.
not eat anything? Like, do you fast like not eat anything? Just drink water or what?
I completely fast from, I do it every Sunday from Saturday night about 10 o'clock to Monday morning at 10 o'clock. And I do lose approximately a half a pound a week, and I don't really change. And I do change my diet during the week, and yes, I do drink water, and I will have a cup of coffee, and I also take probiotics. I started taking them. I think Dale was talking about gut health, but yeah, but I basically don't do nothing but water, and mentally it was tough at first, but now it's simple for me to do.
Could I jump in there? A few years ago, I was reading about vitamin D, and doctors do not tell patients to take vitamin D for diabetes. But I was reading and learned a lot how directly effective it is. Now, so I increased my vitamin D. Now, normally they say, 1,000 milligrams daily. Well, I increased it like to 4 to 6,000 daily. So I brought my A1C down from 5.9 to 5.7 in 6 months, which is significant. That was the only thing I changed. I did not increase my exercise. I did not lose weight. That was the only thing I had done different. Then I told my friend, who's been they call her a borderline diabetic, and she's been on Metformin. So I suggested increase your vitamin D, and she did that, and her blood sugar was the lowest since she had seen in 10 years.
Isn't that
And
amazing?
she told her she got off of the Metformin from the vitamin D.
Yeah.
She has fasting blood sugars now under 100. She hadn't seen that in 10 years. When she told her doctor about the vitamin D, he was surprised. Now, I think that's really outrageous. Don't you? That a doctor
Yes, in
is
fact,
not suggesting vitamin D?
yeah, and that particular, in fact, that's where I'm going to share my screen again so you can see that. That's where the endocrine system conversation is, and really significant to making sure that the body has what it needs. The vitamin D3 deficiency, step number 7 here, vitamin D3 is not a vitamin at all. It is actually a hormone. And it is responsible for approximately 200 plus biochemical reactions in the body. And it's vital. And most everybody in the United States, especially in Northern Hemisphere of the world, have deficiencies of vitamin D3. The other thing that you should know is that when a physician prescribes vitamin D, it is most often vitamin D2. That's what the pharmacist understands if you were to go that route to pick it up. Please know that that has no impact on your vitamin D levels. It is vitamin 3 that your body really needs in order to boost the serum levels of vitamin D. So, yeah, so that's going to be very important for you there. But next month, it's about fasting. And Drew, I'm going to, if you can send me, I'd like to talk with you just a little bit, because maybe the presenter that we have has been doing fasting now. He's lost 80 pounds in 6 months. Yeah. And he's doing extremely well. I mean, just a really great, but how he did it and the protocol that he followed, I would like us to learn. I'd like to learn from him myself. And I've started personally intermittent fasting, which is several days in the week going for 18 hours without eating. And that helps the body also to detoxify and get rid of the weak cells and so on. So
I picked up my information on fasting through Dr. Fang, some guy on YouTube, or he was on the internet, Fang, and one thing about fasting, I know people get on the keto, this, that. You always hear good things and bad things about diets. I have never heard one bad thing about fasting. That's a fact. Nobody's ever said, and people that say, that ain't good for you are usually people that can't do it or don't have the mentality to do it. But I never heard a doctor say, you shouldn't fast, because, to go 36 hours, even 18 hours without eating, it's not going to hurt you. It's going to help you. But there's nothing bad I ever heard about it. But it's, it's just a matter of doing it. It's more of a mental thing.
Yes.
But
And the discipline is good too, right?
it definitely, it took down my A1C, and I'm below a 6 now, and it's like, wow, it's like, okay, all I had to do was a few simple changes, and it's, and I kind of try to, kind of encourage my family too, who I inherited bad eating habits. That's for damn sure. And they most of my family's still diabetic, and they just won't change their eating habits.
That's why I talked about Tony Robbins and Morty Lefko and Stephen Covey, because the mindset is really important for this process. It's making a
But
switch.
some people get low blood pressure and they feel like fainting if they fast. What can they do?
Well, a juice fast might be good. A green juice fast, a juice fasting. So it's not a complete fast, but it's pure foods coming in, pure nutrients coming in to help nourish the body and the cells.
I would say start
Like
out
what
with
can
8
we add
hours
in the
an
green
hour.
juice?
Start out with what?
Well, I mean, I know some people that do like an 8 hour, then, some people
Oh,
like
yeah.
do a 16 hour. I think I take mine to a little bit more of an extreme, but it's, my goal was to tell my doctor, said, if you lose 10 pounds, I'll take you off of all your meds. And boy, I was just determined to lose that 10 pounds, and I
love
lost
it.
12 pounds.
I love it. Oh my goodness, that's great. I mean,
And he was like, most people are gaining 12 pounds during the COVID. He goes, it's amazing how you lost it. But,
Yeah, I have a couple questions for you too.
oh yes, please. Yes.
This is Jeannie. How you doing?
Jeannie, hi.
I was wondering if you knew anything about the supplement NAC, and how do you compare that to the fulvic acid? Or
N-acetylcysteine, yes. NAC, great for, well, you know about redox signaling, so that's a really, that fits right into redox signaling pathway. It does help to, help the body to produce its own antioxidants. And so that is the real benefit there. So please, yes, N-acetylcysteine is good. It's a good supplement.
Are there any like side effects from it,
I mean, I just, even when I work with my clients, Jeannie, I just tell them, use what's on the bottle, start with the lowest dose, sometimes use a little less than what's on the bottle so you can see if what it's going to do. But they're all
How does it compare to the
good.
fulvic acid? Like, which one should I start with?
Well, you already have the NAC?
Well, my doctor had recommended it, but I'm not taking it because my brother had a reaction, and so I don't want to take it. I was nervous about taking it.
Yeah. I mean, we've used it. Fuchsia uses it. I've used it. It's worth it to try it.
Okay.
And then see, and then if that doesn't, then try something else that's different. But this is research, right? Yeah, and I encourage you all to do your own research so that you can figure out for you what would work best.
Okay, but you and Fuchsia do take the NAC?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and for quite a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
No side effects.
No side effects on our end, but I can't say what it would do for you.
Okay, right.
Do you add some fruits also in your green juice? Like you make it as a smoothie or you filter the fiber?
Yeah, I do either one or the other. Depends on yeah, both of the two. We do the green juice, the green smoothie more often because it's easier, quicker. But we try to do 3 days of green juice extract, once a month. 3 day, like a 3-day weekend, and just really do nothing but that and water. And that really, my wife says, I can feel it going into my veins. I'm feeling good.
But
like, what do you add? What vegetables do you add?
If it's green and it's edible, but kale a lot. Spinach I use quite a bit. I use green apples. I use cucumbers. What else? Watercress, very important. Watercress, don't leave that one out. That's one of the most nutrient dense green leafy vegetables there is. Watercress.
But if you're watching your sugar, would the juices be bad or spike your sugar first thing in the morning?
Well, these are vegetable juices, so the sugar is quite minimal.
Okay.
Yeah, these are pure green vegetable. But even with the green apple, that doesn't really have a high impact. But I would test it. See if that has high impact for you, which would be different than for me. And the thing that
But you could probably add like wild blueberries or something.
yes, wild blueberries are great. Yeah, sure.
Michael, excuse me, why the green apple? I know you're singling that out, so I want you to just.
Thank you, Michael. Well, one of the things that we know, and I got this actually from Serena, that with apples, they're pH neutral. And so one of the things that happens, you're not altering the pH of the green juice in any way, and you get a slightly better flavor out of it. And so that's really the purpose of the green juice, the extract, to help the body move slightly more alkaline. And so that makes it more efficient, helps to remove the toxins, the inflammation, and just increases the efficiency overall of all of the physiological pathways in the body.
Does red apple have more sugar and carrot also have more sugar?
What has more sugar?
Red apple and carrots, are they having more sugar?
Yeah, they do. I mean, it's a different kind of sugar, but keep in mind the study with Dr. Neil Barnard and Dr. Gabriel Cousins. They just switched their patients to fruits and vegetables. They didn't care what it was. And in a few months, they were all cured of diabetes.
Even bananas, all that, watermelon.
I know. It's strange. It's counterintuitive, right? It doesn't seem like it would be work that way, but that's the way the body, when you give the body what it needs, the body will heal itself. And so those
what about green wheatgrass juice and all that?
Yeah.
Spirulina.
Again, I do not use the wheatgrass juice only because I don't have the right machine for it. I know the Green Star can do it, but they seem to have some other machines that seem to work better. And then although I like wheatgrass juice, I find that it gives me a breakout on the skin. And so for that reason, I stay away from it.
Michael, one other thing that you had mentioned about the cinnamon, I didn't have a chance to ask you. You and I have talked about this before. There's a certain type of cinnamon that we should stay away from. Do you remember what kind of cinnamon that is, or what type we should actually look for?
Yeah, the one that the research was done with is cinnamon cassia specifically. And see if I can find it here. So you can.
Do we take 1 pinch or quarter spoon? What is the quantity you advise? Can we take with early morning with the smoothie or with the water?
Yeah,
or with
in fact, yes. Many people add it to the smoothie, a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon. This is what I want to tell you. When I say test and titrate, I mean test and titrate. If you have diabetes, you want to know what's working and how well it's working and how much it's working. So if you're going to use cinnamon, and I'm going to tell you my experience with cinnamon, I made cinnamon tea. I put a teaspoon of cinnamon in a cup, maybe about 6 ounces of water, hot water. And I was sitting on my back porch and just sipping the cinnamon tea. And it's nice and sweet already. No need to add sugar. It's automatically sweet.
You mean you just boiled the cinnamon, but you didn't filter it, just boiled and drank the whole thing?
Yeah, right. And one thing, if you're using unprocessed cinnamon, then you want to be sure to take the oils, the resins that float to the top of the water. You want to take those off before you drink it, because over
Otherwise,
time,
we can take the stick. We can use the stick and boil it.
You can use the stick.
That's
and then
better.
monitor to see how well it's working. All right. But here's the point. On my back porch, I'm just sipping this cup of tea. And I said, you know what? Let me check my blood sugar. It was down to 60 within a half hour.
But you use the stick or the powder?
I use the powder.
But we're kind of bouncing a lot here. What about the kasha when the one gentleman asked which was the bad one? You didn't actually answer
I don't
him.
know. I don't know of a bad one. The one that the research was done with in Pakistan by the USDA was cinnamon cassia. And so
Bad or good?
That was good. That was a good one.
Okay.
Yeah, cinnamon cassia was the good one. That was the one that I used specifically and tested on my back porch.
Isn't there another one that's supposed to be good too? It's let me see what I have.
Yeah, I'm not familiar. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Folks, I know we're way over time, so we're going to wrap it up here in a couple of minutes.
I mean, is carrot harmful for diabetes? Does it have sugar?
The what?
Is carrot harmful for diabetes? Does it have sugar?
Yes,
Carrot?
he said it has high sugar. Yes,
Yes,
he
it
did.
does have high sugar, yeah. But again, just go back to the Neil Barnard and Gabriel Cousens research, and you'll see how those diabetic patients, every single one of this is a small group, I think like 12 people, but every single one of them came through just with that change.
I thought
Have you given your diet in your book exactly what fruits, how much quantity of fruits?
I have several recipes, and I have several supplements as well, even those that worked for me and those that didn't work for me. All of those.
Because you mentioned 75% vegetables, but you didn't mention fruits in that.
No, I did not.
You were not taking much fruit.
Yeah. Initially, I stayed away from fruits completely until I read Dr. Gabriel Cousens' research. But yeah, the veggies are more of a source for the micronutrients. And so that gives you a much bigger bang for your buck than the fruits do. Fruits are healthy.
But is it like we have to just sort it, or we can cook it, or we should boil it? Like which method will preserve the nutrients in the veggies? How are you eating it?
So going back to my early days, I did a variety of ways. But now I'm 93% raw foods. And so I don't cook. We rarely ever cook anything in the house anymore. But yeah.
What do you have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? If you don't cook, like what?
Well, I have a smoothie for breakfast, and I have a salad in the afternoon.
Michael, Jeannie's got some cinnamon there.
Yes.
Yeah, I was wondering if this Ceylon, CEYLON, is that one okay?
I really don't know. I'm not familiar with it. I saw that this afternoon when I was doing some poking around in Google. What I would do, Jeannie, I would type in and see if any research has been done with that particular cinnamon.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Can we add chia seeds and protein seeds like pumpkin seeds to this smoothie?
Yes, absolutely. I even sprout my own and include those in the smoothie.
So we can sprout the pulses and all that.
Yes. You want to have dense nutrition and make it.
Can we have raw aloe vera also? Can we just take it from the plant and eat it raw aloe vera?
What is that one?
Aloe vera, like aloe vera plant is.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you find that, especially if you get the gel, you get the gel, and you can use it. But guys, this is the world we are in. So many things work well, and yet we are not being taught to use those things.
Is it safe to take one whole leaf of the aloe vera and eat it, like the whole one full leaf? And
I have never done that. Anybody have any experience with that?
Like I was just wondering, what's the quantity we have to eat for the aloe vera?
A whole leaf of aloe vera, that seems drastic.
Me too, I agree.
If she's not taking, she needs to just start off with a very small piece and gradually increase it. See how her body reacts.
That's the answer.
She's looking for some radical answers, and our bodies don't work that way.
That's right. Well, folks, I want to thank you all so much
it's just vitamins, so
for coming out and for sharing this time. We had a tremendous opportunity to share. Was my celebration interview. I'm thrilled that you all were here. I'm asking you to do one thing, and that is simply this. Do whatever you do with your health. Be healthier tomorrow than you are today, every single day.
But just one question, you have no carbs at all. You don't eat any carbs, like you don't have any rice. You do, right?
There's enough carbs in the veggies, believe it or not,
Oh, you don't.
or
Oh,
some
yeah.
beans, some kidney beans, and so on. So many. Take anything you want to do. So how much carbs are in, and you just put the name in on Google, and you will see that almost everything has some carbs.
Okay. And for dinner also you have the same salad. That's it.
Yes. Yeah, just
You
to
don't
be
have any of those, those grains like spaghettis and millets.
No. No, well, I do seeds like hemp seeds, sesame seeds, that kind of thing. Yeah, I do a lot of that.
So that means you have reduced your carb like almost totally, except from vegetables. What you get, you don't have any of those breads and rice and wheat, which
Just
actually are more of.
wild rice. Wild rice is the only rice that we use, and we mix it in with the salad.
Okay, so you eat the same for breakfast and dinner, the same salad with wild rice.
Yeah. The smoothie in the morning.
Absolutely no nonsense.
I'll tell you what, if you go ahead and join the Facebook group, and you'll see all of that information there.
Michael, real fast, I have a cinnamon for you.
Yes?
Cinnamon verum, VERUM.
Okay, that's another one.
That's from Elliot. I had texted him earlier when we were talking about the cinnamon.
Yes.
So cinnamon verum, VERUM, is the one that he said is the best to use.
Okay.
I'm a little lost with the word, so I'll have to Google it and research it. As long as we're on it, I wanted to throw it in, okay?
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you for sharing that, Michael. That's great.
Can you give your Facebook link?
Yeah, let me put the Facebook link in there. Let's see. Yeah, I can do that. And I did put the link for my book for those of you who were asking about it. It's the link to Amazon.
And what about your calcium? You don't take any soya milk or almond milk or dairy milk?
No, I don't. I use almonds for my milk. I use the original almonds, and I put them in water and create my own milk.
Okay, that doesn't have high fat or cholesterol. Like, do you, for one person, is it like 1 cup of almonds we have to take and make the milk?
Not a whole cup. You might want to use just a handful on a daily basis. You don't
what if they have cholesterol levels? Can we still take almond milk?
My cholesterol went down with the almonds.
Oh, okay. So nuts don't cause, they're not bad for the heart, nuts.
No.
Walnuts.
You'll be surprised. Walnuts are great. I use Brazil nuts as well. Those are all very healthy foods. Tell you what, we'll do a workshop on what I put in my smoothie. There are 21 ingredients.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
We should do actually a whole meetup just on the smoothie.
Yeah. We'll do that. So next month is going to be on fasting. November 10th. And in December, if we have one, it should be okay to have one in December. We can do that on the options for smoothies, and I'll get Serena, and I'll get any of you that have experience.
I'll help, Michael. I'll volunteer to do some smoothies down there with you.
Okay, fantastic.
If we're together by then, I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully either.
That would be great.
Yeah,
because we don't know what to eat otherwise.
I know. I want to make it simple by saying do the veggies and the protein. Get started.
We don't know what to do.
A few supplements, but and do your research. But you can't go wrong, with that combination. And we can get more into specifics as we go along. But folks, Renee had to leave. She's gone, but she thanks you so much for all the great questions. And we're going to wrap it up tonight. And let's have a word of prayer before we go. Dear God, we want to thank you for this opportunity to share to learn and to have our questions put out there. We're asking God for the answers. Help us to be wise in our own selections and help us to do the research that will bring us the results that we desire. And may you empower us with the knowledge that will not also help ourselves, but help others. And this we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Mike, congratulations on your 10
Thank
years.
you, Michael.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for
Thank
Michael.
you.
Thank you, Michael.
Very
You're
excellent.
welcome. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Congratulations again.
Okay, great. So I'll reach out to you, Drew. Okay.
Good morning. I'm up here on the balcony of the Green Mansion Inn. My son and I have the whole deck to ourselves. He's still sleeping. But as I look out here, I think my heart is full of joy. Thank you, God. It is well with my soul. Have a great day, everyone.
This coronavirus, and I don't think the answers are in, but I want to share information that some of it is actionable, and I highly recommend doing your own research and proving it to your own satisfaction, because as the disclaimer has been given, I'm not trying to treat anybody except my own personal patients, and this isn't an effort, but it's an educational tool. Sharing information, as you may or may not know, is the best way actually for you to learn, is to share what you know with someone else. And this is something that we recommend all through training and school. And so a lot of times it appears as if I am doing the teaching, but actually it's something else doing the teaching, and I'm just a participant just like everybody else. So I believe the prayer already outlined that, so I won't have to go into that detail. If somebody knows, because I'm not familiar, I just want to make this fill the whole screen. And I'm at
Are you in PowerPoint? So go to View.
Well, I tried a Google document, so that was.
Then go to View then. You should be able to go to View. And you want to go to full screen.
Oh, here it is. You're
Yes.
right. But it's still
have those information on the side, but it is bigger. It is a little bigger.
bigger. Okay, because it'll be important when we get to some of the other slides.
Okay.
But we can share it. I don't have that many slides because I really wanted to do more discussion than, a lecture. And I assume everybody has an interest in trying to avoid COVID-19.
Yes.
And as an aside, I am a researcher. So I am conducting a study, official term is principal investigator, on preventing COVID-19. So we take individuals who are healthcare, doctors, nurses, medical assistants, firemen, paramedics, who have been exposed, and they can join the study. The study will allow you to either get the placebo, which is a pill that's inert, versus the study drug, which is called NTZ. I'm not trying to really talk about the study or recruit people for it, but it's important, I think, to understand that there are studies being done to try to see what can help. And NTZ is a drug used for protozoa infections that would cause diarrhea. So it's been used for years So it appears to be safe because you have years and years of people using it and no bad side effects, as opposed to the vaccines, which no one has had it, and we're not going to know until, you know, it's given out. So that's the question mark I put behind the vaccines. I'm also doing a study on recurrent yeast infection, and there are 2 proposals for me to do the study for vaccines. I'll get into that at a later time, but I study it thoroughly before I make a decision to participate or not, because I'm not subjecting my patients or anybody else to something that I think is not safe. So having said that, the question is, what's the #1 hormonal deficiency in the world, and why are COVID-19 deaths associated with it or linked to it? What you don't see is, I'm not saying it's caused by it. I want to make that distinction, okay? I thought of this example, and you guys can give me feedback that it helps or it doesn't help. But as you know, or may know, there was a storm in Illinois. And as I drove to the different hospitals and so forth to do surgery this morning and see patients at the office, there are a tremendous number of limbs down. And if you look carefully, some of the limbs you could tell were rotten in the middle. And then some of the limbs look like the tree looked fine. Was this a smaller limb? My assumption is the wind was so strong, it tore it off, but it was normal. So there is a difference I can notice between the limbs that were torn off that were very large, and in the middle, it was like hollow or black. And I say that to say that's a good natural example of a pre-existing condition. So when we talk about vitamin D and COVID-19, it's something that happens, but the effects on people is different depending on what's within. And so I like to tell my patients, and I get in trouble, so it's okay, that they spend a lot of money cleaning up the outside of the cup, but their concern needs to be in the inside. To that extent, I recommend we have to do tests, blood tests, to check what's going on inside, because just because a person looks okay on the outside, half of the people that die from heart attacks look fine the week before. Because if you looked on the inside, you would find their arteries are damaged. And so here we go into the discourse. One thing that needs to be addressed is the question is, what is a cytokine storm? I put this on the slide to preface my remarks that, in my opinion, nobody ever dies just from the virus. Well, what do I mean by that? When you look at the cause of death, it's a tremendous amount of inflammation and release of cytokines, which is a protein, and they're inflammatory factors and anti-inflammatory factors. They're always to be balanced. And the best example I could give you is, or one of the examples is, if you cut your hand